I just want to share with you about Israel. Israel will be saved. The world is so bitter about the world, about Israel. And I think this is not something that is new, because over the history, Israel has faced a lot of opposition, being people who are God elects. When we say that they are God elect, people want to dispute that, but that is the truth. They are God's elect because God chose them. They were elected. But this doesn't mean that they have freedom to do whatever they want. One thing you have to realize is that no one merits the elections of God. No one. God just did it on his own merit, or rather we can be able to say that he did it because he is sovereign Lord and he can choose anybody, and therefore he chose Israel. The reason he chose Israel is because of Abraham, but you see also not all children of Abraham also we can say that we are elect. Ishmael was one, and also we had Isaac. But you see, both of them are seeds of Abraham. But at the same time, not both of them are having that merit. So one thing I want to say is this, that there are so many people who have like feeling Israel must suffer whatever they are suffering. They want to say that when they are fighting, God is not on their side. It's only that somehow by way of technology, they are ahead of the other. But you wonder, why are they ahead of the others? Yet those other countries have been there for so long. They have not been destabilized the way Israel has been destabilized. The history can tell you they suffered a lot while in Germany. So one thing I want to tell you is that this opposition against Israel has been there. And another thing that you have to realize is that confederates, nations would come together to fight Israel. That one you can read in the book of Psalms. There are so many verses that shows that Israel suffers from attacks from its neighbors, who they say they claim that Israel will not be established. Israel will be vanquished. It will be eliminated from the face of the earth. And therefore, all those people, and especially those religions that teach that Israel will be eliminated, will be wiped out of the face of the earth, they are not the first one. It has always been there, but Israel cannot be defeated. One reason why Israel cannot be defeated is that the promises of God, though most have come true, they have not been fully implemented. Because if you look at from Genesis, everything will come to fulfillment in the book of Revelation. And when you look at the book of Revelation, it is telling of the things that will happen when we are coming to the end. The book of Revelation is the last book, whereas the book of Genesis is the first book. Both of them are close together, meaning that God has the final book as he starts the first book. So he knows the end of what he began. And God cannot be defeated because of human errors, because of human weaknesses. So though so many may be lost along the way, but the truth is that Israel will not be shamed. Israel will not be lost because God cannot be defeated. So if you are a person who looks at the ability of Israel or the faithfulness or unfaithfulness of Israel, you have failed, because it is about the faithfulness of God. The Bible says, let all men be liars, but God remains faithful. even us who are born again. This is what gives us confidence that even in our own weaknesses, our God remains faithful to the end. So not our God, we don't suffer because we are weak. We suffer because we fail to trust in God. Our weakness to God is nothing. He is there to strengthen us. And that's why there is this verse that says, let the weak say, I am strong. Because God is our strength. In the book of Esther, Israel was still facing the same challenges. And you can be able to see that Mordecai, who was a Jew, was hated by Haman. Haman hated him for nothing. And the king himself had one day remembered the goodness of Mordecai, and he wanted to honor him. And he called upon Haman to actually describe or say what needs to be done to somebody who praises the king, who the king fights pressure in him. And Haman, thinking that he's the one, gave a very good, elaborate plan of how it need to be to honor this person who the king delights in, because he thought he's the one. How many people today think that they are the one, and they think God has nothing to do with Israel? They have that feeling of self-importance. Even if you are saved, even if you are a Christian, and you have that feeling of self-importance and thinking that God has cast away Israel forever, I want to tell you that is not the spirit of Christ. You have the spirit of Antichrist, which is obviously hidden and appearing as if you have the spirit of Christ. The hatred of Jews is spiritual. It has nothing to do with anything physical. Because even why do you hate Israel? Why would you hate Jews? And they have never done anything to you. I think we have experienced a lot of bomb blasts, terrorism activities from the other side. But these are the people who have always maybe come where there are problems. They have brought their technology, even rescuing people at the rubbles when the terrorist strikes. But people will hate Jews, just like people hate Jesus. Jesus, wherever he went, he did good. He healed the sick. So where there was death, he would bring them back to life. Those who are deaf, he would make them to hear. So you can be able to see wherever he went, he did good. He never took anything from anybody. But today people, and even my tradesmen, you'll be able to say them using some very demeaning word on Jesus Christ, trying to say that he is just a boy who has no bearing, who cannot even do anything like that. But they would not mention on others who we can call they are thieves. They were robbers. They were rapists. And that is why we want to say that the hate against Jews has nothing substantial, has no ground on it. One thing I'm talking of Esther chapter 6, and if you are reading from verse 12, you'll be able to see that Mordecai was honored. He was well clothed because Haman took the robes, the horses, and all of that, and he went around the city proclaiming what happens to the man who the king delights in to honor. So I want to tell you that was the shame of those who fought the Jews. Because Haman, he never just hated, he did not just hate Mordecai, he hated Mordecai because he's a Jew. So if Mordecai was not a Jew, he would not have been hated by Haman. And Haman was planning on how to annihilate, that is to destroy completely, wipe out the Jews. And he had even had the king sign everything. He had put every plan. He had laid it down very clearly on how to execute the plan. So in this case, I won't say this. And that's why people don't read the Bible and they come up with other things and they think they are correct position because they are just moved by their feelings. And I won't tell you the Bible has the beginning and the end. It has the beginning and the end. So I won't tell you, when you look at this, Haman was not happy when he realized that it was not about him. God doesn't delight in him. And I won't tell you, the hatred of Jews is equivalent to the hatred of Jesus. And therefore, God once said when Jesus was being baptized, "This is my son who I delight in." During transfiguration, in the presence of disciples, God still came out, who is the King of Kings. And he said, "This is the man I delight in. This is the son that I delight in. Hear him." That is what the same word that are going around. Today, people will hate Christians because, and even persecute them. The true Christians, not those who never know whether Jesus has any meaning to them. They just found themselves Christians, and even it doesn't matter whether he was there or he was not there. You are not a Christian if you are that kind of a type of a person. You cannot be counted as a Christian. A Christian is the one who is ready to carry the cross, who is ready to die for his faith in Jesus Christ. So these people, the Jews, Haman had planned to kill all Jews. And then God working through Mordecai, there is a way that the king decides to honor Mordecai, or to give to honor Mordecai because of his contribution. And whoever now takes him aloud, it is Haman. You can be able to see that verse which says that verse 13, when Haman went back home after doing all of that, he thought that it would be done to him, but to his shame, it is him who did it to Mordecai, who he hated with a passion. So verse 13 says that, and Haman told his wife Zeresh, and all of his friends everything that had happened to him. This is a shame that people will go through, thinking that they were really on the sides of God, and then they realized they were not. Then his wise men and his wife Zeresh said to him, "If Mordecai, before whom you have begun to fall, is of the Jewish people, you will not overcome. You will not overcome him, but will surely fall before him." So this is a prophetic woman who doesn't know that she's prophesying the end of his husband. Maybe to Haman, he thought it is all over. Even though I was forced to proclaim and honor Mordecai, who I hate, he thought that would end. That would be the end. And now he would go back to his default status of fighting Jews. But he had a very wise woman. Or maybe through the woman, the Spirit of God spoke, because God knows the end from the beginning. When you start a battle, when the battle starts, he knows how it will end. Even when you are talking about the Palestinians, when you are talking about Israel, those battles that are being fought there, no matter how people live, no matter how people are saying or talking about it, God has a solution to the end. So you can be able to see that this woman is telling Haman, who is the husband, who is her husband, that if Mordecai be of Jews people, you will not overcome him, but you will surely fall before him. You can imagine the person who is supposed to really give you support now gives you what we call a very rude, or what can we say, the fact, the truth that you are not ready to listen to. That this man whom you have started going down on or falling, you will surely not escape. You will be totally be destroyed. You will be totally be destroyed. So when we fight people who have the name of Jews or Israel, we may take it for granted and think this word is not applying. There are people who want to say that now God has finished with Israel. God has not. And I won't tell you, can take that one to the bank. Because as I've said, God, this Bible, the beginning, we are not yet to the end. And I won't tell you, when it comes to people, God is never through with anyone. Never light off somebody. And if at all this person is a person who has a special lineage, in the Bible there are people who have a special lineage. This kingdom belongs to us and our children. So if I believe so, have a special that God is not through with Israel. If he went looking for Gentiles who were actually enemies of God because they had hostility with God, they did not know the true God. They did not know the true worship, but God went for them. Then at the same length, and even much more, he will go for Israel, so that also Israel will be saved. And Israel will come to the knowledge of Christ. I remember some churches who led crusades, and they would go and attack Jews, killing many of them during the times of crusades, simply because they were accusing them of killing or betraying Jesus Christ. Thinking now, because they are Gentiles, they are better off. From Rome, going all the way to Jerusalem to kill. And even to date, today, people in the Middle East, they still believe that these are the people who hated Jesus. And therefore, they will not be saved. The Haman. Haman thought if we would kill and wipe out all the Jews up. But the end of it, if you read it, actually, all that Mordecai, all that Haman had prepared to destroy the Jews, even the girl that he had set up to hang Haman is the one, it is him, where he was hung there. I mean, it worked against him. So what we are saying is that maybe planning, whatever you may plan, let us know that God still cares for everyone. When you wish bad thing concerning anyone, it's good to know that it may not come to pass. Maybe in the book of, as I finish, maybe in the book of Romans, and it's very important, Romans 11, for anyone who has, it talk about being grafted. We are grafted. Anyone who has done agriculture, you cannot graft anything in the air. It means that there has to be a stamp, there has to be roots. And that's why if you read in the book of Romans chapter 24, it says this. Okay, there is that verse, but it says that, and even they continue in their unbelief will be grafted them in again. So here, that there was the true which was broken, so that us we can be grafted in. But if some of the branches were broken off, and you, although a wild olive shoot, were grafted in among the others, and now share in the nourishing root of the olive tree, do not be arrogant towards the branches. If you are, remember, it is not you who support the roots, but the roots that supports you. So we need to know which is this root we are talking about. The root is Israel, the root is Jews, and even when Jesus was talking to the woman, the Samaritan woman at the well, Jesus was very clear, because the woman would say, we worship from that mountain, and you worship in Jerusalem. But Jesus said, it is true what you have said, but a time is coming. And Jesus went ahead and to say, because salvation is of the Jews. So we cannot talk about salvation without Jews. But now when it comes to the true worship is for those who will worship God in truth and in spirit. Because that's what Jesus told the woman. So here what we are saying is that there is no way we can disregard the Jews when it comes to salvation. They form the root. Even though Christ is the root, they form the root. Even if some branches were broken, let us remember, the Bible is not saying all branches were broken. Doesn't mean that all Israel doesn't believe in Jesus. Doesn't mean that all Israel are not Christian. We can't say that. God has always a remnant. If you read in the book of prophecies, I would read, there will be remnants. So they are still remnants. And the Bible is saying that their unbelief is because us also we can be included. And how much more will also them be included again or be grafted again? That's what is the Bible is saying. So let's not boast. Actually, the Bible is warning us from being proud. Then you will say, branches were broken off so that I might be grafted in. That is true. They were broken off because of the unbelief, but you stand fast through faith. So do not become proud, but fear. Because for if God did not spare the natural branches, neither will he spare you. So we are all at risk if we don't really continue in faith. Note then the kindness and the severity of God. Severity towards those who have fallen, but God's kindness to you, provided you continue in his kindness. Otherwise, you too will be cut off. And even if they do not continue in the unbelief, will be grafted in, for God has the power to graft them in again. So we can be able to see that we were we became fast. And maybe there is this statement I wanted to finish with, that God has subjected all to disobedience. And you see, these people, the Israel themselves, were God's elect. And the Bible is saying, and this will be my covenant with them when I take away their sins. As regards the gospel, they are enemies for your sake. But as regards the election, they are beloved for the sake of their forefathers. So I want to tell you, God is calling them for the sake of gospel, or for the sake of, but as regards elections, they are beloved for the sake of their forefathers. So do not disconnect them from their forefathers. You cannot. You are not God. And just because you believe in Jesus Christ, don't really think you are ahead of them now because they have unbelief. The Bible is saying, for the gifts of God, for the gifts and the calling of God are irrevocable. So when God chose Israel, there is no way you can cancel it. So don't say, and maybe have that loud sound, rather shout out so loudly that for them, they cannot be saved. They will be saved. And I'm telling you, they are remnants. So I've said that God has subjected everyone to disobedience. But now that we may receive, when we are disobedient, we also need to come to a point whereby we need to receive the mercies. I want to say that God has opened one single door. Now, not where you can boast because you are Jew or you are Gentile or anything, but where all of us will be harbored and will know that we have been saved by mercies of God. That's why you see that verse that one says that, so they too have now been disobedient, in order that they, by the mercy shown to you, they also may now receive mercy. For God has consigned all to disobedience, and that we may have mercy, and that he may have mercy on all. So we cannot have entitlement whether we are Jews or whether we are Gentiles. I want to tell you that we all are disobedient. And the only way to be reconciled to God is through the way he has provided. That is through Jesus Christ. So please let us desist from saying that Israel cannot be saved. Let desist thinking that Israel is hated. Israel will never be hated by God. God is not through with Israel. So who are you to think that God is through with Israel? God is not through with Israel. May God bless you. May God do you good. Let us walk in truth. Amen. Na karibu sana as we share in this critical